school is going to be there. I can also tell you that the day of the election, some woman came into our subdivision because we live by the school, and I don't know how, I don't know what happened, but Randy ended up talking to her, and it was like 10 minutes till, you know, the end of voting. And she said, isn't the school open? And he said, no, if this is your regular, you know, your regular polling place is either the church at Davies Plantation or the church, the First Baptist Church. And she said, well then, forget it, I can't vote. Because she was thinking that voting was at the school. And I think if we have it at the school, then everybody will know it's at the school. Plus, in the commission, it said in this information from the Election Commission, it says the commission shall, insofar as practical, arrange for the use of public schools and other public buildings for polling places on election day and during early voting. So that's one of the requests from the Election Commission. So that's why I brought this up. Yes.
The and I actually talked to the city attorney about this today and about that very thing. I think it because of the TCA, and you're quoting TCA there, because of the TCA, how it directs the commission to do. It's talking about the election commission, but directs them to choose those things. I think it would be wise for this body to endorse what TCA really directs us them to do, and suggest that the school may be the voting, early voting, and the actual voting location for the northern precincts, and then south. That we would, of course, it is what it is. I don't think we have any infrastructure down there to commit to it, so you have a different situation. But this is a practical way to do it, and the law directs the commissions that shall. So I think I'd be very supportive. I think all we got to do, what do we direct our city attorney to, or do we need to speak?
I talked to Richard Bolton last week to learn about this. He said a couple things. Now they decide where the elections are held and when they're held, but they really defer to us to direct them on what to do. So either, I guess, by resolution possibly.
Yeah, but you have to do that necessarily with Richard. I don't mean to cut you off. Richard and I talked this morning about when they meet again to set the location for election day. And what he requested is, he said, hey, you guys have any night, we'll talk about it, if everybody wants to do it, just shoot me a letter either from Wyatt or from Jim that says the city requests to hold, that the election commission choose to hold election day voting at the school. And he said they will take up their meeting on the 23rd. He said, I can't tell you what that body will do. He said, in his estimation, he said, going forward, it may not, it's not likely to be a problem. He said, I can't tell you that they'll turn on the fly this quick for this time, but that they might, and certainly we call Robert Myers and talk to him a little bit as well about how strong our preference is. So hopefully they will entertain that, especially since we just had one.
Commissioner Flory.
Two questions. What is election day? September what? 17th.
Early voting is August 17th.
So,
September.
would it be that hard of a transition to move from where we have been to the schools with that kind of time frame?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how it goes through their process. I do know that perhaps it'll be easier because they just did it once. But
secondly, I think having the school, most counties utilize the schools and municipal buildings for their elections. It's a safe place. It's a well-recognized place. It's a place that has ample parking and accessibility. So I support the Lakeland Elementary School as our polling place, both for early and for primary and general elections.
Now, we'll say I talked to Richard last week, and he said this isn't mandatory by any means, that they prefer not to double dip, is what he said. We might follow up on that. Having early voting at the same location as voting day. He said they've had problems in the past. Now, it's not a rule. You can't do it. And we might want him to expand on that a little bit. Okay, but and as far as cost, addressing cost issue, if we're piggybacking on another election like a county, state, or federal election, there's no cost to us. If we have a special election like a referendum, then it's totally our cost or minimal on our own.
main things is keep it simple, stupid. I mean, if everybody knows I'm gonna go to that school and that school's gonna always be there and that's my polling place, that's great. Like I said, there was confusion on the day of the actual election because they did early voting at the school. I do have another question. For the voting, are we having early voting every day? Somebody asked me that today and I said, no one is, I don't know.
I think it said every day, but only the Saturday prior to the election will be open. So not every Saturday in that period, and there could be two.
Early voting is August 28th through Saturday, September the 12th.
But only one day too. Only one day is at Lakeland Elementary. The other is downtown, because I went to the election commission meeting.
Early voting this year will be at the Refuge Church. The September 17th will be at St. Paul's and First Baptist. That's posted on the website.
You said yes.
That's not what happened at the meeting, and I was at the meeting. I don't know how y'all can get the minutes to the meeting, but I watched them vote and everything. And they said one day of like, can you call it up on, well, hold on, I think I can call it up.
They'll check on it or
Okay.
after this, okay. Okay. So you're gonna follow up on that?
We'll check where it's at.
Okay. Next item?
Discussion on sign ordinance amendment. We want to skip that and go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion on process and timeline for city manager's evaluation.
I just wanted to, hey, I love Jim, I think he's gonna do a great job, I just don't wanna get in the situation that we had the last time. I wanna have something set, that we all agree on, about an evaluation, about the process, so everybody knows the expectations. Comments?
If I could add,
Yes.
I'm not holding after. As part of the contract, there's an attachment with an evaluation form that could be used with a manager or use it. That could be used to sort of set, what it would be, I believe it calls for an annual evaluation using that form or a similar form to that. So we don't have it with us tonight, but we can forward that on you just as a reminder of what that is. If you choose to use it or tweak it in some way, do that.
That'd be my preference, send that form on and let's look at that. The last one, that's what we got to, I amended a couple of forms, meshed a couple of forms together and sent them in as my preference form to use as a combination of a couple of different forms. And that's where it died on the vine. I hope it didn't die here. I think contractually we have to do this. So let's go ahead and start the process of amending that evaluation.
I also would like maybe something informal in 6 months too. I mean, so everything is out in the open. If there is issues, then they have time to work on things. So I just think the last year, if we waited until we did an evaluation, it would be 1 year. And I guess that's an option, but I like more communication, so you're on the same page. If you know there's an issue, you can take care of it. And we can't talk amongst ourselves if there's an issue. We have to do it here, so I would like, maybe even just, if it's just informal, but something in print that says, we will do X, Y, and Z within certain times. That's my preference. Commissioner Blunt.
I think the one problem that at least I had was that you got 5 people evaluating one person. That's just kind of hard to do. I mean, it's easy. I mean, I've done evaluations for employees. It was always me with the employee. Then we got 5 people evaluating just one person. So we tried last year for a month or two. We still couldn't come up with anything that would serve as a evaluation form.
We'll recirculate what was attached to the contract when we approved and the board approved. I said we will recirculate the form that was attached to the contract as an exhibit to the contract, and perhaps that can be a launching point for you guys. And if that's what you ultimately decide to work with, then that's, was prepared already.
Commissioner Jordan?
The
this was one of the stumbling blocks whenever we came up with the termination of the contract with Chris Thomas. I mean, this is one of the key points that was brought up, that we never told him, we never evaluated him. Well, the five of us have to evaluate him, or the five people sitting here, and we have to come up with some kind of a responsible way of having some kind of criterion and some kind of performance rating to merit whether he either is retained, he is dismissed, or he's retained with a raise. That's how we're going to determine whether he gets a raise. We have to have some kind of merit analysis, and we're the ones that have to do it. So I would say come up with some kind of let's individually at some point, near term, sit down with the two of you and come up with an objective analysis criteria for a number of topics of performance and communications and whatever. So we'll have a way of determining whether that's the only way we can come up with a legitimate way of saying, yes, you deserve a raise. No, you don't. If you don't deserve a raise, why? And if you don't deserve the raise, you don't correct what you're doing, then you get terminated. I mean, that's ultimately and I don't like to see us put it that way, because most of the time we're going to have a legitimate rating that's going to merit. If we're operating well, like I think we will be, the city manager has no reason to fear an evaluation, none.
I think for all those reasons, that's why we did include that form as part of the contract. So let me get back to you guys to sort of remind everybody what we've already adopted.
But that was that purpose, Gene, that's why we
Yeah.
did it. And I would welcome the evaluation, I'd like to do the 6-month evaluation.
Do you have any problems with what I said?
No, that's what I'm saying, but that's why we put the form attached to the contract.
Yeah.
So we had that form in place, we didn't have it last year, we have one now.
It's just been a little while since you looked it up. I think you'll remember.
I mean, if you just-
Yeah, I know, I talked to Jim about it, he doesn't have any issue with it, and I think that the city needs to be on record of this stuff.
And the way it would work, you could address Commissioner Plunk's question about, the 5-year evaluation, it'd be an individual evaluation that you would do separately, and then compile.
Can we go back to Jim?
Discussion on sign ordinance amendment regarding light pole banners.
Do you want to take this one?
Sponsor. For about the last 6 years, is that a fair time frame? I've been involved in the signage. I did a survey for the city manager 4 years ago. I went to every business in the city and interviewed the owners, i.e. managers, asked them what their biggest complaint about interaction with Lakeland municipal government, and it, almost to the business, it was their ability to advertise and their signage restrictions. In an effort to rewrite that ordinance, and I think Jim is still in the process of formulating that. This is something that I made a suggestion because of the number of businesses that we have in Lakeland that have very similar signposts in their parking areas, to afford them something that is discreet enough that's not a glaring sore thumb sticking out, but is something that can identify the businesses, identify the type of message they want to get across, but has some degree of decorum. And I would like to see us, there are a number of businesses now along Highway 64 that are so far displaced off of the highway that the businesses are handicapped because people are going by at 45, 50 miles an hour, and they're not seeing what we have to offer. And it's not fair to the business, it's not fair to us because we're losing sales tax revenue. I would like to see us adopt a plan that will allow this type of signage on appropriate parking lots and areas that will accommodate the yard arm type of signage. Arlington uses it, Bartlett uses it, Germantown uses it, it's used quite a bit. It is really, it's discreet, but it is, it's enhancing.
Great. All right, Commissioner.
Yeah, I just need some more questions about, giving more examples of who controls the signs. I mean,
Most of your parking lots that the posts we're talking about are owned by the people that own the buildings within the parking lots. This is not something that's on the city street. If you go into into Arlington by their ball fields there, they utilize the same effect on their light standards around their park. They have it for 4th of July, they can put those up for Christmas, or for Easter, for different times of the year. They use that as their form of decoration.
who controls what the sign looks like?
That will be part of the ordinance, that it will have to meet certain restrictions. You can see they're not very big. And what they have printed on it would be something that had to fit within that right there, and they want to be identified, so it's not going to be something that's,
So we would control what the sign looked like, right?
to a certain extent. If you look at what's printed on that there, you're talking about a banner, Randy, that's maybe 24 inches wide by 36 to 40 inches tall. There's only so much information you can put on it. You see how they've had to print it up and down, and they've had to be very creative in how they are advertising what they have there. Like Howard's Donuts. He has no way of advertising, but he has these posts out front. So he would do something that would be in line with his business. And you can see some of it is very, like the one that says downtown. This is not something that's like a neon sign that's glaring. It's very, it's restrictive in nature. That's just because of the size and where it's being put.
Dominating the thing, but who could, how many poles, I don't understand where, you're in the parking lot. Some parking lots have a lot of these street poles. Some areas don't have any, so what,
Well, they'd have to erect a light pole to be able to put it up, but for instance, if you go to where the ATC Fitness is, excellent example. They have poles on the perimeter, lighting poles, and they have some in the parking lot. They can use those poles. They're not, I think it's a great idea, and it gives some visibility to the businesses, which they need. But it's also restricted because they're not gigantic waving banners.
I agree with you totally. I was just trying to get more information about the understanding. I think this should go to the, to design and review, and let them work it out and bring it back to us.
See, it's really difficult to tell you what they put on their sign because each individual business has their own logo. The examples that he's got up there, and I'm sure Jim can relate to them, they're very limiting in the amount of information that they can put up there because it's not that big. And they can be changed out with little or no effort. They just have these things that actually creates business for the sign company that's over there in the same parking lot where I initially started with the sign.
Who controls the poles?
The poles belong to the business owners, people that own the lot.
Well, the people who own the development own the pole.
Right.
There's so many poles out there, and let's say there's 10 people that rent. Now, who decides which one gets the pole?
That's their problem. That's their problem.
Yeah, if I can jump in, I think, all valid questions. I think,
what we have to do is bring back the DRC as required is to sign an ordinance amendment to work through the details, because, you know, some of the questions are, what's the duration? Currently, we control temporary signs for 30 days per year. We talked about expanding the allocation, but would these be limited to the same amount of days, or could they be a permanently year-round? We would control content, of course, to actually what they specifically would look like. We control the size, the location. Do they have to be consistent sign across all poles? Do they have to be switched out? Would this be instead of the typical banner? I tell you, this example is way better than the banners you can put up now. You know, 32 square foot on metal poles in the ground that are, you know, half fallen over. Typically, these signs are done by a city on public poles along right of way. We've done it here in the past. We have some banners like this for, you know, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, that we put up in the past in our parking lot here, also on Canada Road in the past. That's typically how it's done. So I think what Gene is saying, this would be sort of an extension of that to private industry to promote advertising and business.
I don't know that we need to engage in much discussion about kind of reinventing the wheel, if you will. We've got examples apparently in Germantown, Collierville, Arlington. Germantown's been successful for a long time with this, and I hear their sign ordinance is pretty remarkable. It's just flexible enough to be effective, but it keeps everything nice and clean, and it's probably the one to use as a model, I imagine. So anyway, why don't we just get one of those and take a close look at it?
We'll take a look for sure. And I know all the cities do it publicly in a public pole. It's not advertising for a specific business, for sure they do, or generally, you know, welcome to Germantown and whatnot. So the extension of private industry, we'll try to find an example of that if they do it, if not somebody who surely has. But I think what would be appropriate to sort of send this to the planning commission, let them work through the details. They'll probably come up with 100 more questions on how to, you know, regulate and send it back to you with the proposal. Now, as far as process-wise, they're looking at a sign ordinance amendment, a complete overhaul. It's been passed on from the planning commission.